On today's ChurchTech Q&A, software, online campuses, and royalty-free music. Hello everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the ChurchTech Q&A show. I, of course, am your host, Paul Allen Clifford, and I'd love for you to join the conversation so you can send in your questions like a lot of the people on today's show have done. Head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact, and you can give feedback. Tell me what you like about my shows, suggestions for future shows, or questions like those that we'll be answering today. So you could also send me your questions on Twitter. Head over to twitter.com/Paul Allen Cliff. That's PAULALANCLIF. If you're watching the video, you'll notice that it's on my lower third. And I am happy to talk to you about that. First off, let me also remind you that if you want to do streaming of your own, head over to churchstreaming.tv using my link, trinitydigitalmedia.com/churchstreaming. Churchstreaming.tv is the streaming provider that provides the bandwidth for the ChurchTechCast.com network, so all of my shows stream live through that. If you're watching on Roku, welcome, and you need to know that that Roku channel, which was not hard for me to set up, was something that I did through churchstreaming.tv. I'd never done it before, and they just guided me through it. Basically, I needed to create a few different images of very specific sizes. I did that, uploaded them after we went back and forth with Roku 2 or 3 times to make sure I fell within their guidelines. I got approved for my Roku channel, so those of you watching on Roku, that's the basics of what a Roku channel looks like. And what I love about churchstreaming.tv is just how responsive they are to my questions. So if I have a question, they have an answer, and they're happy to give it. So that's something that you should consider as you're looking for a company to do your streaming. Is there are some very big companies that are so on their responsiveness, but churchstreaming.tv, they're right on it. They have a very customer-centric view. Also, I want to talk about Creating Church. Creating Church is my latest creation. It's a class all about using creativity in the church. I believe that art should be coming from the church, and the best stuff should be coming from the church, because we serve the most creative being in the universe, the Lord God, who gives us our creativity that we can use to serve Him. So I want to talk about strategies for just tapping into that. So head on over to create.ingchurch, that's create.ingchurch.com, and you can sign up for more information there. So let's get back to just your questions, and we'll start with Xavius Kid on the Church Tech group on Google+. Xavius asks, what software do you all use to stream live over the internet? Well, right now I'm using Wirecast by Telestream. Wirecast is great software for doing this, and excuse me, I've got a little head cold thing going on here. It's great software for doing this, and basically it does some things that the free software does not do that I really like. First off, it's a built-in video switcher. Now it's software based, but if you have a couple of different cameras coming into your system, you can switch between those. You can put in lower thirds, full screens, play videos, etc. So all the stuff that you see that I'm doing right now, I'm doing as a result of using Wirecast. Also, I've noticed who I want to be when I grow up is Twit. So if you go to twit.tv, you'll see that that's a video network that just does tech stuff, and they do multiple shows a day, and they've got a professional studio. That's where I want to be. But right now, we're not there quite yet. But you'll also notice that you have some streaming options. So if one has a problem, no problem, go to the other, etc., etc. So I wanted the ability to stream to multiple streaming providers at once, and I've got that. I've got multiple streaming providers I could use, but the problem is, on my end right now, it's bandwidth. So if you've got decent bandwidth, you could do this as well. You could stream to multiple providers at once using Wirecast by Telestream. Now, if you don't have any money for the software, the way that I would do it, if I were you, is I would go to adobe.com and download Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder, that also called FMLE, Flash Media Live Encoder, and that will do it. You won't be able to switch between your sources. You won't be able to stream to more than one place at a time, but it's free. So for a lot of churches, if they've got a switcher off board, or if they're just using a single camera and not doing any graphics or something like that, that's adequate. So that's probably the other solution that I'd recommend. I'm supposed to be getting in a demo unit to try from Blackmagic, but I haven't heard anything about that, so I probably need to email the guy that said he'd be willing to send me a demo unit and see what's going on there. But there are hardware-based solutions that do that same thing, and I'd prefer to go hardware over software, but in the meantime, I've got what I got. So that's what I use. Bong Balon, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, probably wrong emphasis on the wrong syllables. Which is a better goal or objective when putting up an online campus? Is it to bring visitors to your website or to your actual physical location? Neither. Quite frankly, your better goal is to bring people to Christ, and it doesn't matter how you do it. So if people find your church and they go, oh yeah, this is the kind of church I'd like to visit, and then they go to the physical location, that's great. If they're in another part of the world and they never ever visit you, but they come to know Jesus, that's great too. So I think basically if you view it as an online campus and not just your website, it's an okay goal to have resources available for people who can't make it to your church for whatever reason. So I don't see a problem. Now, I wouldn't think, oh, I just want to justify the creation of our website to the board, so let's try and get more traffic. It's valuable to justify the creation of a website, but it's probably not something that I would aim for. Next, Matt Rickers, again still in the ChurchTech group, asks, looking for some fresh audio tracks for an interview that I'm working on. Where do you find royalty-free audio? There's a couple of different places that I go. First off, I go to Vimeo and YouTube both have free royalty-free music that you can use in videos, and read their license agreement to see if you can use it in the way that you want to. Additionally, if you've got even an itty-bitty teeny tiny budget, I would take a look at JewelBeat. JewelBeat.com is what I use, and they've got some fairly decent tracks starting at 99 cents. Now, again, it's how you're using it, but for most applications, the 99-cent version is going to be fine. So I'd take a look at JewelBeat, JewelBeat.com. They also have some free stuff, so absolutely search there first and see if it applies. But unlike the YouTube and Vimeo stuff, they have multiple versions. So there's like a 15-second version, a 30-second version. And if you just want like an intro and an outro or a stinger or stuff like that, that's a good place to go. There's also Music in Cloud, MusicIncloud.com. Music in Cloud is fairly new. They're more expensive. It's like $20 a track, which might seem expensive when you think, well, I could buy a whole CD for that. But remember, this is royalty-free music. So what you're buying is the rights to use that song in a video without having to pay a royalty. Whereas if you use music from an audio CD or that you download off of iTunes or so, you are legally required to, whether you do or not, that's different, but you're legally required to pay the artist, the writer, the record company, all those people every time that video is played. So it can get pretty pricey pretty quickly. So that's why I would go with the royalty-free stuff. Okay. On churchmedia.net, omode25 says, "Hello, I have set up a video stream from my camera to my computer via firewire, and it goes through Easyworship. I use this to manage a video presentation and still put up text, scriptures, songs, which I send to the projectors. Now, the camera needs to be taken around, so I'm thinking of deploying a wireless video transmitter. The receiver from the video transmitter has an HD-SDI port. If I installed an HD-SDI expansion slot card into my desktop computer, will Easyworship see this card slot as a capture device like firewire, so I can see my live video and send it to the projectors as usual? Thanks for the quick responses." So I doubt it. Initially I was thinking, yeah, that should, but I've worked with Easyworship and it seems like they haven't put in additional functionality there. So they will take a camera from firewire, they will take a USB camera like a webcam, but additional sources, I really doubt it. You would think that it would all be the same, but I bet HDV over firewire won't work. I bet any other kind of capture card won't work. So I'm very dubious that this would work. You could absolutely try it and take back all the stuff if it didn't do the thing. I'm also a little worried about latency. Firewire is a format that has some latency, but you seem to be using it as is, and I'd really encourage you not to do that. I'd encourage you to use a switcher or a keyer to put the video over top, the video from Easyworship over top of the live video from the camera, as opposed to taking it into the computer where it's processed. Then you add a lower third, or you do full screens or video, and then you put it out to the projector, you're going to get some delay in that camera. And I find it very annoying when there's latency on the screen. So, next, Maiden71 asks, Livefeed to nursery. I've been given the opportunity to set up a TV in the nursery for viewing our church service in the sanctuary. We do not need any over-the-top equipment, just minimal equipment to set it up that would give good video and audio. Currently, both the main building and the nursery do have the network. I didn't notice that line. I need to go back and answer this in text. We have an existing audio mixer, do not have model or info, that's plugged into Father's mic in the front of the sanctuary. Will the following list of equipment give what I am trying to accomplish? 1. Video camera, Canon Vixia HF3 or R300. Connect HDMI cable into Trip Light HDMI over Cat5 active extender kit. Run Cat5 cable about 175 feet into a Trip Light HDMI over Cat5 active extender kit in the nursery. Connect HDMI cable to 50-foot smart TV HDMI port. For the audio, use the aux port out of the existing audio mixer into line input on the video camera. Thanks in advance. So if it's a line input on the video camera, that should work. I kind of doubt that it is. I kind of think that I'll have to look at the Vixia HF300. I think it's probably a mic input, in which case you need to attenuate that signal, because the line level is going to be way stronger than the camera is expecting. So that's my first concern. Next, you were saying that there's a network between the two. Make sure that the Cat5 that you're using is one straight piece that is not on the network. You just need to view that as a video cable. If it's a 175-foot piece of Cat5 that's not connected to anything other than your Trip Light HDMI extenders, I expect that would work. So if you do that, I think that you're not going to have any problems. Although HDMI is a bit on the... How do I want to put this? HDMI is a bit wonky. It's designed to fail because the movie industry got in there with the HDCP copy protection, and they required the signal to be 100% in both directions at all times. And if it's not, it just disappears. Poof, it's gone. Whereas VGA or DVI, those all have degradation that sometimes people don't even notice when the signal degrades a little bit. But HDMI, if it degrades, it's gone. Poof. It's either there or it's not there. And that's no fun. So that's always, when we're talking about HDMI, that's always the caution that I have, is that it's just designed to fail. So, next, Chip D. Thompson, ideas for a blog reader. He's over on Christians in Business. I just saw this morning, and I thought that I'd include it. I have a number of blogs I follow, and I want to know when they post something new. Been using bookmarks, but looking for a better alternative. Any ideas? Also, be sure to include a link to your blog, please. Winky face. Okay. Someone suggests Hootsuite. That's not right. I wouldn't recommend Hootsuite. You could try, someone else suggests, the Old Reader or Feed Demon. Personally, I use Feedly. Basically, let me explain what we're doing here. An RSS feed is, there's a little file on most websites called an RSS feed, and it's just a little text file that you can subscribe to, and you can have a piece of software, either online or offline, check the version that it last downloaded versus the version that's up currently on the website, and compare those. When there is a difference, which automatically every time there's a new blog post, or this is the same mechanism we use for podcasting, which, by the way, this show is now available as a podcast. I haven't gotten it up on iTunes, but soon it will be. So if you subscribe to this RSS feed and then go to the Old Reader, Feed Demon, or Feedly, one of those three. Google Reader used to be a great one until Google killed it for no apparent reason. There's still some unhappy feelings on the web about that. But what you can do is you can use those, and you just go there once a day, twice a day, and see, oh, there's new stuff. And it's basically like all your blogs are in a list with all the stories. And you just go through, okay, don't want to read that, don't want to read that. Oh, that's a good one, I'll read that. So you only go one place, and then you can read all these blogs at once. So it really cuts down on your time because you don't have to surf to all of them. Now, some blogs will not put in the entire story. They'll just put an excerpt. But that's usually enough to where you can know, I don't know whether I want to go to the blog or not. So, and if you have a blog, that's a balancing game, because sometimes, like Lifehacker articles, I like the short feed because their articles are so in-depth that it just takes up tons of space to scroll through them, and I only want to see 1 in 10. My pastor's blog, on the other hand, I wish they had the full feed there, because I want to read all of his article, and usually the excerpt is most of the article. So I usually don't go there unless it's something really big or really great. So it's a balancing act. And you've got to decide, and if you're using WordPress, it's a checkbox to decide that, but it's something that you need to do. So, I hope that answers all the questions out there. Let me double check. I did have the chat room up, and I just haven't looked at it here in a few minutes, and that's a mistake. So, oh, I've got a couple of guys. Raul says, I'm a bit late, was watching on my phone, but I needed to switch to my computer to chat. Oh yeah, Raul suggests that we also try Jamendo.com. JAMENDO.com. So, thanks, Raul. So, anyone else that wants to hop on the chat room anytime that I'm doing these shows, you're more than welcome. VB guy is in there, I'm in there, Raul is in there. There's a guy named Chris that sometimes shows up, and a few others. So I'm always happy to interact with you guys via the chat room while I'm doing the show, if I don't accidentally bury it like I did this last time. So I hope that that gives you all the answers, and until next week, don't forget to go out and change eternity. This is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.